It's really cool of you to come and spend, for a million of you guys to come spend your Wednesday night with us. So thank you so much. You know why you're here. I don't really need to talk too much other than to tell you to turn off your cell phones. That's it. Also, we'll have a mailing list that you can sign up for in case you don't know about this stuff beforehand. I mean, obviously you guys did know that this was happening. You didn't. This isn't a massive coincidence. But that's fair. But, well, the 300th episode of Law & Order SVU's on tonight. Anyway, last year the Oatmeal came here to support his debut collection, 5 very good reasons to punch a dolphin in the mouth, and a zillion of you guys showed up and you totally wowed us. And somehow we were still unprepared for thousands upon thousands of his adoring fans to show up tonight. So you guys rule. Thank you so much for coming out. Mr. Matthew Inman just funded a Tesla museum.
So yeah, just to say one thing, I'm actually fine with cell phones. I think he just meant don't have your ringer go off while I'm talking, because I will, I'll stuff it up your butt sideways and then leave you a voicemail saying I'm in your butt. There you go. Everybody wins. So yeah, I'm Matthew Inman. I write and draw the Oatmeal. I've been doing it for a couple of years, and as you may have noticed, I wrote a book about cats. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about why I write about cats, why I write about some of the things that I write about, creative process, some of those kinds of things. Starting off, I want to talk a little bit about cats and death. And they conducted this study about 2 years ago where they put cameras on the collars of house cats and watched what they did when they were away from your home, and kind of recorded their activities, and then did the sample and figured out what they were doing. And they found that about 1 in 3 cats, when they leave your home, they go and they kill things like lizards and snakes and pigeons and squirrels and that kind of thing. And they found that what they kill is actually less than, what they bring home to you, what you see, is actually less than 20% of what they actually kill. So if they bring home 1 bird, there's actually 4 more out there. 1 in 3 cats do it. They do it about twice a week. And I did some kind of fuzzy quick math on this, and with 84 million owned house cats in this country, the total body count from cats in the United States of America every year is 2.9 billion corpses. If they were hunting human beings, they would actually wipe out our population in 2 years, which is something to think about. What's also important to think about is the fact that they are not hungry. These are well-fed cats. We were just like, all right, tonight is board game night. Tomorrow is Breaking Bad night, and then the next night is we do a little murder. I think an ounce of murder. So that's something to think about. Furthermore, in this study, they found out that a small percentage of cats, it was less than 5%, but a notable number, are actually what I call cheater cats. Where what they do is they actually go to another house and then live with someone else, get petted by somebody else, fed by someone else, and come home to you. So no matter how much you love your cat, they're these little fucking traitors. Beyond that, in my studies, I found out about this parasite called toxoplasmosis, and it lives in the tummies of cats. And toxo wants to be in the stomach of the cat. That's where it's got nutrients. That's where it can reproduce. It's where it likes to make its home. Unfortunately, when you're in the stomach of something and you live there, when they poop, you're no longer in its stomach. Same thing with toxo. So what happens is cats poop toxo out, and it winds up in places like litter boxes, it winds up around your house, it winds up in sandboxes, it winds up outdoors. And toxo desperately wants to get out of that feces, because it can't live there long, and back into the kitty. So what toxo does is cat poop that's outdoors is actually often eaten by rats. Rats eat it, and the toxo, once they ingest it into the toxo actually travels from the rat's stomach into the amygdala of the rat's brain, and it suppresses the rat's fear of cats. Furthermore, it makes them sexually attracted to cat urine. So the cats have these little hearts in their eyes, or the rats have these little hearts in their eyes, have little crushes on kitties, so they go to, like, you know, fall in love and they get eaten again. Toxo winds up back in the cat's stomach, and that's how it gets there. It's a mind-controlling parasite in rats that does that. And toxo can actually infect human beings, and they actually warn pregnant women to stay away from kitty litter because it can cause all sorts of terrible things to happen to your baby. But they've actually done some speculative studies that has said that the reason the crazy cat lady exists is actually, I think, oftentimes she might be overdosing on Toxo. So in addition to nearly wiping out the human race every year, they actually have mind-controlling parasites that they control us with. So that's something to think about next time Mr. Skittles or whoever poos and then cleans his butt and then licks you. You've got this parasite going into your brain. So, science aside, I wrote a book about cats. I write about cats a lot. People always ask me, how many cats do you have? I have a cat. I have a cat right now. It's been a long time. I have 2 dogs. My inspiration from cats comes from the fact that we had lots of cats growing up. We had 17 cats growing up at once in our house in Idaho in a little tiny cabin in the woods. And it was a little tiny cabin, but it sounds better if I say it that way. It was a big fucking house, but there were a lot of fucking cats in the house. And my responsibility for a while was to clean the litter box. And notice I say litter box. There's one box for all those cats. So every day I go to clean it, there's like this Mount St. Helens of cat shit. So part of the reason I don't own a cat right now is because of that. I think I'm still slightly marred from all poo. Other than kitties, we own lots of animals. We had horses, we had dogs, we had, ferrets, all kinds of stuff. And one of those dogs in particular was a black chow chow, and his name was Teddy. And Teddy was kind of incredible. He was basically invincible. He got hit by 6 cars and was fine. I'm not exaggerating. 6 cars hit my dog and he was fine. Like, I think he had at one point, he's the kind of dog, like, if he breaks his leg, he's just, like, shaking, like, fuck it, I'll just walk it off. Like, he just did not care about pain and agony. And one time, though, he got, like, a infection in his head where his head swelled and there was something in his skull or his brain. And we took him to the vet and they shaved his head. And like I said, he had black fur, and an animal with black fur, oftentimes their skin is horrible looking. It's like purple and green. So he already looked horrible with a shaved head. And then they took these little metal tubes and these little pipes, and they stuck them in his skull, drilled them in, so that they would drain the fluid from his skull. So he came home from the vet's office, and he had to stay that way for a while. And it was kind of where he walked in the room, and all the kids would just scream and run. But eventually, we sort of got used to Teddy's new look with his little brain drippings coming out, and his little brain juices, I guess. And we started playing this fun game with my siblings and I. We called Getting Juiced. Where what you do is you go up to your sibling, and if they're weaker than you, you hold them down, and you say, "Here, Teddy, here, Teddy," and he gets all excited, and he runs over, and he licks their face, and fucking brain juice drips down. Love that fucking dog. It's always a good dog. So yeah, Teddy also used to walk us to the bus stop. So every morning we'd walk. We had like a gravel road in the woods, and we walked to the bus stop and they get picked up. And I grew up in this town in Idaho called Hayden Lake. And if you've ever heard of Hayden Lake, it's because it was in the news in the 90s a lot for having white pride parades and Nazi parades and all these kinds of wonderful Nazi demonstrations. And my bus route was home to the last neo-Nazi compound in the United States. And they had swastikas, they had guard towers, they had actual real-life Nazis living in there. Not Germans, just like, kind of these fossilized bigots from the 50s who still believed in this stupid ideology. But the bus route consisted of the Nazis, pick up all the little Hitler kids, and then me, and then, like, tons of families of Hispanic children. So every day was like this World War II reenactment on my bus. It was so nice. And when I first got on the bus, the Nazis sort of gave me this look, because I used to have blonde hair when I was a kid, and my eyes were bluer than they are now, and they looked at me, and they're kind of like, "Want on a bus? Want on a bus?" And you're like, "No, I'm not one of you, but don't kill me. Like, just, I want to be neutral in the war." That's my stance on this whole thing. And at one point, I befriended one of the Nazis. I was a kid. My moral compass was fucking backwards. There was no moral compass when you're a kid. At least I didn't have one. And I befriended this Nazi primarily because he had a Game Boy, and I didn't have one. And when I rode the bus, he would sit next to me, and he would be like, "You want to play my Game Boy?" And I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I'll play your Game Boy." And I'd play it, and I'd be playing it, and he's saying the worst fucking shit imaginable. Like, "Oh, Mexicans suck," or like, "Oh, black people are no good." And you're like, I'm sitting there playing it, and you're like, "You shouldn't say that, but this is really fun." Like, you had to balance, and I didn't do it very well. So that was my bus. There was no... This is mostly about cats. There are no cat involvement in that story. There wasn't some little, like, Hitler cat driving the bus. Nothing like that. But one day in the winter, we got off the bus, and we were walking home, and Teddy used to show up, and he would meet us halfway. And he met us halfway, and he was very excited about something. And we followed him, and there was this, we found this kind of frozen paw sticking out of the snow in the road. And we went over to it, and it was a dead cat and hit by a car. It wasn't one of ours. And what had happened was, I got hit by a car and died. And then I got ran over by a snowplow. And then I got ran over by, I'm guessing, 4 months worth of traffic. And it was literally a flat cat. It was about this flat, and it was completely, it was like sprayed out. And I found you could pick up a flat cat, as we call them, you go, whiz them like a frisbee. And when you did this, Teddy would go bounding after it, and he'd catch it. He'd catch it in midair like a figure skater. He'd just spin and catch it, and his fucking brain juice spraying in his Good old flat cat. Good old Teddy, for that matter. So yeah, like I said, we had lots of animals. We had horses. I don't know much to talk about horses. It's rough. I will skip horses for now because it involves terrible things. I almost got raped by a horse. Let's just leave it at that. He was like a stallion, it was a stallion not fixed, and I went to his pen, and I was, shoveling shit or something, whatever my parents had me doing that day, and this horse just, saw something in me that day that completely... If you've never seen a horse penis, it is an awesome thing. And I don't mean awesome like, sushi's awesome. I mean awesome like universe expanding, stars collapsing, awesome universe. It's huge. It's like fucking wind chimes. And when it's correct, it's even more scary. So I'm like shoveling poo or whatever, and suddenly I look to my right and I see him with this lustful look in his eye, and he just charges. Boner flapping in the wind, just charges. And so I had to dive out of the way, and I dove through an electric fence, and I got caught and stuck in it, and I twisted around on the wires. So, like, in between these bolts of lightning in my life, I would open my eyes and see this penis firing at me like 45 miles an hour. That's why I don't like horses. We had a lot of animals. We had, like I said, lots of cats. One of them in particular was a cat named Domino, and Domino was, he was just broken. I don't know how else to say it. He foamed at the mouth. He, would make this sound that was like a, it was his meow, and it was like a dry heave. Like he dry heaved. He was meowed and it sounded like a dry heave. And he would just, fire off in a direction that just boom, gone. He would shit the whole time. It's like a falling star. So he became kind of this outdoor kitty. He was a good kitty, but he had a lot of problems. And so one night, my brother wakes me up, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning in January. And my brother shakes me and goes, "Wake up!" And there's smoke in the room, and I'm like, oh, well, whatever, because we used to build a fire in the fireplace, and it would put smoke in the room and keep it warm in the morning. So I went into the bathroom, and I was brushing my teeth. I figured we were going to school. And I look at the vent that connects, I'm on the bottom floor, that connects to the upper floors from that floor, and there's embers coming out of the vent. And my brother comes in the room, and he's like, you idiot, the house is on fire. Like, what are you doing brushing your teeth? So, me and my brother, we run outside, my whole family runs outside. The whole house goes up in flames, and the whole fucking thing burns down. And the unfortunate part about your house burning down when it's got 17 cats in it is they all kind of die at once. And they all did die at once. And, yeah, it's funny, you see your faces, because every time I tell the story, it's like the saddest... I'm like, the punchline is around the corner. It's a long way to the punchline, but it's worth it. There's so much death to get there. Once you're there, it's worth it. So the next morning, my family's there at the wreck, and the house is smoldering, and everything's gone, and I have no baby photos, and my mom's business, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm staring at this wreck, and I hear this sound coming from the hill nearby, and it's kind of this sound. And sure enough, Domino, with his awkward gait, comes rolling over the hill. He was the sole survivor of the fire and all the pets we had. And I remember looking at this fire and thinking that all of our worldly possessions had gone flaming into the night, and we're left with one inbred cat. And Domino was the last cat I ever technically owned, I suppose. So after that, a couple years later, I started coding Perl. It's a language, and got into computers and that kind of thing. And at 17, I moved to Seattle and started working, doing that kind of stuff. And I got a studio apartment in the city, and it was my first apartment. And a friend of mine, her life was, she was kind of couch surfing kind of thing, so she had me watch her cat. And it was supposed to be a week, and it turned into 6 months. And it was one of those things. And this cat was a, like some sort of Himalayan. It was a beautiful cat. It had like long flowing locks that were white, and it had these blue eyes. It was a beautiful, beautiful kitty. And she gave it one of those pretentious cat names like Sky Soul, or like Moon Echo. One of those names where, when the cat walks in the room, you expect Enya to start playing. And, I don't remember its name because I didn't call it by that. I called it by another name, and that was that Himalayan son of a bitch. Because of all the things that it did to me. For instance, that Himalayan son of a bitch pissed on my zip drive, or the Himalayan son of a bitch is sleeping on my pillow again, so that means I go to bed, my fucking eyes are going to water, and it's snot monster all night. At the same time that I was living with the Himalayan, I was also living with a small betta fish named Peter Jennings, who I was very fond of. You could hold your hand over his tank, and he would hop out of the tank and nip you. And I think he just thought you were an insect, but it kind of looked like I taught him to jump. Like I was proud of it. And I came home from work one day, and Peter Jennings was gone. And Himalayan is sitting on my fucking pillow again, looking quite happy with himself. And it dawned on me that, you know, I put two and two together, that he murdered Peter Jennings. So I just kind of lost it, yelled at him, and, you know, threw him off the pillow. And I went to bed that night, and I'm laying there, you know, snot pouring down my face. And the Himalayan went to the kitchen and went up to the dishwasher, which is off, which is not running, which does not pose a threat to him at all, and just proceeds to stare at it and go, meow, meow, for like, it's like 2 in the morning. He's just meowing at the fucking dishwasher for no reason. He's fed, he's taken care of, I gave him everything he needed. I brushed him, I gave him his little massages, I played his favorite Sounds of the Whales tapes, like everything was done. I don't know why he was losing it over the fucking dishwasher for no reason. So I was like, alright, here's what we're gonna punish this cat. So I get him and I put him in the bathroom. And I'm like, I'll put him in the bathroom, and that way I can't hear him and I can go to bed. So I hear this faint wow, wow off in the distance, but it's better than where he was. And what he figured out he could do was he could stand on his back legs and push his paws into the door and make a ka-thump, wow, ka-thump, wow. So again, I storm out of bed and run over there and open the door and just start yelling at him. And I sort of realized that, like, there is zero emotional catharsis from screaming at a cat. You get nothing out of it. Like, you just yell and yell and yell, and the cat, you know, this cat especially, I would scream at him, you're a bad kitty, you're a bad kitty. And the cat would just give you this look like, oh, you're upset. I see, you know, I made you something. Would you like a bite of this fucky sandwich? Basically, that's all you get out of it. And it's not even that. It's not even malice. If I yelled at a cat and said, fuck you, cat, and the cat was like, fuck you, that would be better, because it's something. Instead, it's like, with this cat, I felt like I was on the top of a mountain, and the wind was howling, and it was snow was building, and I was starved, and I just start cussing out a pine tree. Like, that's the emotional, fuck you, tree, that's, you're tired, but you're still stuck on that goddamn mountain, and that's how I felt with this cat. Dogs aren't like that. Dogs, my dog Rambo, or any dogs I've ever owned, it doesn't matter what you yell at them, they feel sorry. They're like, you can just scream at them, and they actually go like, I'm sorry, like, they have this look on their face. And with my dog, I've actually found that I used to be so specific about scolding him, like, Rambo, don't get on the couch when there's company over. Like, it was so specific. And I realized that you don't need to be specific. You can say whatever you want. So what I started to do is kind of interject little phrases in here. Like you could say, like, George Clooney has big eyebrows. So you go, Rambo, George Clooney has big eyebrows. And George has big eyebrows. And he just, Rambo gets his look on his face like, I'm sorry. Sorry about the eyebrows. Like, he didn't know why he was sorry. But at least you get an emotional reaction from this animal, which is soothing. And with cats, too, you know, part of the reason I wrote a comic about cats and, you know, how a cat's plotting to kill you was I was at the zoo and I was looking at the big cats and I was looking at tigers and lions and those things, and I was looking at how they move and how they yawn and how all their mannerisms are the same as a house cat. So your inclination when you see them is you want to go in there and pet them and it's cute and everything. And it made me realize that a house cat, I mean, the only real thing separating them from killing you is just mass. That's it. If they were a little bit bigger, that's it. Your cat would look at you one day and be like, you know what, we are best friends. You know, you've raised me from a kitty. You've taken care of me. I love you. But today's the day I put you in the ground. So yeah, beyond that, I guess, like I said, I was coding and I was doing programming and computer stuff, and eventually started building websites for people, clients, that kind of thing. Decided I didn't like working for people. I wanted to kind of set on my own, start a business, so I made an online dating website and needed a way to get people to use it. And I didn't know anything about marketing. I was a programmer. So I thought, let's just make lots of funny things and see if I have some sort of voice. And hopefully people like the funny things and they use the dating site. And what ended up happening was the comics were way more popular than the dating site. So I thought, well, let's just do comics for a living. And one of the first big comics I ever did that was a hit, it surpassed anything I'd ever done, was the comic How to Tough Your Cat's Plotting to Kill You. It's one of my oldest. So from there, that kind of my career was born. I became the Oatmeal about 3.5 years ago and started doing that. Since then, I've just sort of looked everywhere I can to find comedy. I'm not a traditional comic artist. I can't do 3 panels with one punchline at the end. I do sort of this lengthy mix of things. And I like to find things in life, things in nature and science and technology, and build comedy around that. So oftentimes I'll find a subject I'm interested in, like ginger ale or semicolons or coffee or you know, things along those lines, and build humor out of them. And in my quest for material, a couple years ago I was reading this website called Badass of the Week, and this guy profiles badasses throughout history once a week. It's a really great site. And he did a profile on Nikola Tesla. And I'd never heard of this man before. I think I had a light understanding of who he was, but I didn't really know anything about him. And I read this article about this guy, and I was just blown away, not only at his achievements in science and technology and all these things, but his character. The fact that you had this guy who could speak eight languages, who changed the world, died celibate, fell in love with a pigeon, like all these crazy, insane things. He was truly like one of the original mad scientists. And so I made a comic about him, and that came out in the spring. And it was funny because when I wrote it, I remember thinking, this isn't funny, this isn't comedy, this is an essay. No one's going to like it. Everybody's going to look at it and do the too long didn't read, and they're going to move on to some animated GIF of Captain Picard or something. So it was rewarding to see it got more traffic and more likes and more everything than I'd ever seen before. And that was great. And then about 6 weeks later, I get a letter in the mail from, unrelated to the Tesla comic, from this lawyer who says that I was... there was another website who was stealing my content, posting on theirs. So I wrote a blog post saying, stop stealing my content. They considered that defamation. So they said I had to pay $20,000 and they were going to sue me in a federal court. So it's funny, I get this letter in the mail from the lawyer, and I look at it. And the first thing that comes out of me is the comedian. Like, I look at this and I go, this is fucking gold. Like, this guy he's going to have a bad week. So my plan was, raise $20,000, take a picture of it, mail that to the lawyer. I also drew a picture of something very saucy as well. And we started the campaign, and I would donate the rest of the money to charity. That was my plan. And we started this campaign. We needed 20 grand. Instead of that, we raised $211,000. Just blew it out of the water. It was fantastic. And this whole thing was sort of like almost like a warm-up round for what happened next. About 6 weeks later, the lawyer ended up backing off. It's over. I don't think he has any other, I think he's out of the fight. The last communication I got from him was he told the journalist at MSNBC that he publicly wanted to mud wrestle me in Tucson, Arizona with him. And I was, what it was he'd kind of become this huge douchey villain on the internet, and he wanted to end it with like, oh, I'm a silly guy too, I can have fun. And I looked at this and I'm like, I'm going to get my underwear with a 55-year-old man and roll in the mud. There's no win there. If I beat him, I beat up an old crazy man, right? If I lose, I got beat up by an old man in his underwear. Like, there's no... So, my whole philosophy with him, with that case, is he can just go fuck himself to the end of time, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, anyway, that whole thing was kind of a warm around for what happened next. I started to get these messages from people who were writing about, there was a piece of real estate up for sale in Long Island, New York. It was the former site of Nikola Tesla's old laboratory, and there was this non-profit group who's been trying to buy it for like 15 years and just don't have the money, and they needed $850,000, and with a matching grant from New York State would put it at enough money to be able to purchase the property. So I thought with my sort of, mass of people who like Tesla who followed my work, with the kind of practice round with this lawyer in terms of crowdfunding, I thought I could come in and try and help. So we needed $850,000 and we launched it, and it just went bananas. We were raising, at our peak, we were raising $27,000 an hour. People donated from hundreds of countries, and we closed the campaign at $1.37 million, which was, to me, was astounding. I know there's a lot of people here who probably donated too, so thank you for that. Which is interesting because people on the internet, and my readers especially, can be very generous with things like comments and likes and tweets and kind of the social interaction on the web. But to see everybody like pull out their credit card and donate these crazy amounts of money for a museum for a dead inventor who's been gone for 70 years. Like, imagine trying to pitch that to a politician or to someone with money, like, oh, this inventor's been dead for 70 years, a museum. There's no way. So it was really remarkable to be a part of that. So yeah, in terms of updates on what's going on with that, the nonprofit group bought the property, and they got it for a lot less than it was listed, which leaves a ton of money left over. So the plan is, on Nikola Tesla Day of 2013, which is July 10th, we're going to have like some sort of Nikola Tesla barbecue festival thing. We don't really know the details yet. Hopefully on the property, which should be clean enough that we can actually go on it and maybe go into the building. So so that should be fun. So yeah, I'll post about it on the Oatmeal. You'll hear about it. And I have someone donated a Tesla gun to me. It's a functioning Tesla coil cannon. And it shoots a painful arc. It's wonderful. You can zap your friends with it and leaves little burns. Yeah, try checking that on an airplane. Yeah, along with a sriracha popcorn. I was like, where's the popcorn? I'm not going to carry popcorn to 16 cities. But yeah, I thought I'd bring it and make some sandwiches with it and shoot your sandwich or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So, and lastly, my birthday was a couple weeks ago. And as I mentioned earlier, I started that first campaign where I donated money, or I raised money for the ACS, the American Cancer Society, and the National Wildlife Federation. And the National Wildlife Federation are a wonderful bunch of people, and they decided to throw me a surprise birthday party for my 30th birthday as a way of thanks. So they threw it at the zoo, in the grizzly bear pen. The bears. So I got to show up in my birthday and give bears peanut butter off a spoon. And those are like, I need to figure out how much they weighed. It was about 800 pounds each. And then they stand up on their back legs. So it was awesome. I mean, it was amazing. And the word amazing is overused. Feeding peanut butter to an 800-pound animal, that's fucking amazing. I took that word and I'm using it appropriately right there. And there was also like a fence thing. They didn't just throw me in the bear pen like, see ya, like, let's smear you with peanut butter and just, yeah. Bye, Oatmeal. Thanks for all the money. But yeah, like, another kind of cool part of that with what happened was, if you've never been in the kitchen designed for grizzly bears, I'm assuming you haven't, it's actually quite a wonderful place. Because they open the fridge and there's just the most horrible shit imagined, like goat heads and animal body parts. Like if an animal dies at the zoo, that's the afterlife, is that freezing up those bears. And they have vegetables and all kinds of stuff. But the one thing that they had that I will never forget was they had these 5-gallon Ziploc bags full of frozen dead gerbils. And I don't know where they got them. I think maybe Hope University, I don't know where they came from. And they were these little bear snacks, basically. I don't know, I think if he's a good bear, you chip off a gerbil and you throw it. And it goes, if he's a really good bear, you chip off 3, 1, 2, 3. I remember looking at this bag of gerbils and thinking that, you know, like, it's pretty fucking awful, like, because all the frozen faces in their last month. I remember thinking, like, you don't look at a bag of frozen dead gerbils and walk away normal from that shit. It's like a human centipede. You may not have liked the film, but you think about it for a long time. It stays with you. So yeah, I'll end on dead frozen gerbils. So thank you very much. Do a couple minutes of Q&A, and then there's a lot of you, so we'll start signing books as soon as we can. So if you have a question, raise your hand. Yeah?
Did Tesla, the motor vehicle manufacturer, come to the party with the...
Yeah, he did. He asked Tesla, the Tesla Motors came and helped, and they did. Elon Musk donated some of his own money, and he also gave the project his blessing, which was really, really cool to see. So, also, it was very intimidating having him email me, because, you know, the guy, Elon Musk, is the founder of Tesla Motors, is also the founder of SpaceX, designed a lot of the rockets and propulsion systems that put the first civilian spacecraft to, I think, dock with the International Space Station. And before that, he kind of sort of founded this company called PayPal. Emailing him, you're like, he's a very smart man with no time to talk to silly comedians. So, anybody else? Yeah, in the back?
I'm always impressed by, it feels like your website is where a random noun generator exploded. I was wondering where all of those come from.
What's random noun generator? Is it a website or is it the idea?
No, it's just a concept. You have a lot of, I think what's funny about your work is that it's a lot of random stuff just thrown in together and makes it pretty.
Well, when I first started writing comedy for the Oatmeal, that's actually a formula that I can't stand anymore, where it's like, 5 very good reasons to bacon unicorn zombie at random. Like, I hate that shit now. But in the beginning, I was kind of trying to figure it out. And I try not to do that, because that's, I mean, it can be funny, but my work is kind of grown beyond that. And other than that, I think in the beginning I was just very good at pairing strange things together. You know, like 6 ways to fight a crack whore. And I had one comic that I never published about how to properly drag and kick a whale. You know, you just take a verb, you take a silly noun, and it becomes comedy. So, but I've got enough of an audience now that I feel like I don't have to do that anymore. I try and focus on making the art funny without words. That's actually kind of the comic artists who can make things funny without ever having any dialogue. Those are the ones that I really admire, because that's a lot harder to do. Anybody else? Yeah.
Have you ever been approached by the sriracha people?
No. Well, So the Sriracha company, there's a lot of them. The one that most people eat is Hoi Fong, and it's owned by this guy named David Tran. And what's really admirable about their company is their marketing campaign is basically "fuck you." Like they're like, our sauce is great, and that's it. They, like, if I saw Sriracha on Twitter being like, "Oh, here's Sriracha here, tweet this and get 6% off your next order," it would kind of ruin it. Instead, they're just like this obelisk. This red obelisk in the world of food that's just like, I'm Sriracha, what are you going to do about it? So I don't think any interest in working with me. So I would love to be their spokesperson, but no, it's never going to happen. Anybody else?
Have you always drawn?
No, well, when I was a kid I drew a lot. And then when I got into computers, the only real art I did was web design. And then when this career kind of came about, I kind of got back into it. Which is also why a lot of my work is very geometric and, it's drawn using web design tools, and it has things like drop shadows and lots of gradients. Things that you would see in a website are in my comics because that's the only way I know how to draw now.
Right.
Yeah.
Any possibility of you ever doing a Gmail skin?
A Gmail skin? Oh no. Well, I added a skin to my Gmail, and it looked horrible, and I added another looked horrible on my back. So I don't know. Probably not. You can make one if you want. I think it's pretty easy. Yeah, so am I. So yeah.
I noticed you made lots of grammar correcting comics. Is that sort of, does it annoy you when people don't do grammar correctly?
Just the basics. A lot of people think that I'm some grammar, dark lord or something. And I'm not. I learned how to do some things in grammar out of necessity because I used to be a programmer, so they became kind of a writer. So in my transition, I needed to learn how to use a semicolon because I didn't really know the rules in terms of using it as a super comma or how to deal with conjunctions and things like that. So people always come up to me and they're like, "Oh, you should make a comic about commas or dangling participles and all these really complicated grammar things." And I'm kind of like, I'm not that passionate about grammar. Like if someone starts going off about prepositions, I'm not like, "Oh, that is so exciting! Talk to me more about prepositions." So I do it mostly out of utility, learning it, and kind of reporting my findings, as well as just solving a gripe. Like, I did one called 10 Words You Need to Stop Misspelling that was... there's all these words that we learned in, 4th grade that people can't spell. And so I made the comic to make them spell it right. Me feel better. Yeah.
Do you work your ass off, or do you get where you've gotten, or are you a very disciplined person, or is it more like a 9-to-5 thing for you?
It's not a 9-to-5 thing. I tend to spread out my hours really oddly, and I work in bursts. So, sometimes one day I'll only put in an hour worth of work, and then sometimes I'll go a whole week with working 11 hours a day at a computer. It's very all over the place. One thing that I have found is creativity and inspiration and those kinds of things. Art, it's not like projecting your voice. It's not like you just speak, and you can just be creative. You can't choose it. It's like food poisoning. It just shows up. So sometimes it'll be the middle of the night and you're like, I fucking got it! And they'll go get a pot of coffee and make a comic. And so it's kind of all over the place. But I do work a lot. And unfortunately, a lot of my work these days isn't comics anymore. It's everything involved with the business. So I've been trying to not do that. I don't need to do my bookkeeping. I have better things to do. So I'm learning to delegate. Yeah.
You mentioned conjunctions, which sort of reminds me that a lot of folks these days learn their grammar and so on from conjunction, junction, the school that's rock and so on. Has it occurred to you that maybe 20 years from now people are going to look back and go, I learned my semicolons from them?
Yeah, maybe. A lot of schools buy my posters too, and which is surprising because I think a lot of them have to Sharpie out half of the work. These drunk panda bears and... Yeah.
What's next? I mean, it seems like you've been hooked. Are you just hooked on just the cartoons, or is there other projects that you're interested in? I mean, you've done
yeah,
museum, whatever.
Right, yeah. For the most part, it's going to be comics for a few more years. I think the Oatmeal's got about 5 years in him before he's going to switch to some other thing. I would love to get into animation or comedy writing, whether that's for film or TV or something. So we will see. I thought about trying stand-up too, but it's a lot harder, and it's very stressful. So, yeah.
What's it like to see people take your content and kind of run with it, like the Pterodactyl song?
I love it. Like it's cool to see that organic growth, and it's less work for me, I guess. So the same girl that wrote the pterodactyl song, we co-wrote a Tesla song as well, and she sung it and did everything, and I just sort of provided some lyrics and inspiration. And you know, to make a video like that takes forever. I think like the pterodactyl video took me like 80 hours to do, and a comic I can do in 4 hours really fast, depending on the comic. So with the Tesla song, I was actually considering just posting on the blog and saying, hey, have fun with it, you know, like, and let people do it and have some sort of contest or something, sort of crowdsource it, which is another way of being lazy, but if I don't have to put 80 hours into it, I can make tons more comics, so we'll probably do 2.5 more questions-ish, yeah.
Is there any chance for us to see any of your unreleased comics, which you're talking about, unpublished ones?
Maybe. If you did, they would be kind of under the premise of, like, there would be a post called, here's a collection of stuff that I've never published because I don't like it, or just so people don't think it's something that I'm, because some of it's pretty, you know, I have misses as well as hits, so yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned the Tesla gun, but what's any other weird things you've gotten from fans in the mail?
People send me food a lot, and you're always kind of like, am I going to eat this and trip balls for 12 hours? Bad, I don't, because you don't expect it, and that's not good, so I usually give those to my nieces and nephews. Gotta grow up sometime. So. We'll do one last question, yeah, in the back there.
Why do you call yourself the Oatmeal?
I call myself the Oatmeal because I used to play a game called Quake in the 90s, and when I played, my name was Quaker Oatmeal. And I eventually shortened it to Oatmeal, and it just stuck, and that's what I use for everything now. And I don't actually eat oatmeal. I just don't eat it. I don't like it. So, terrible name choice. So yeah, anyway, thanks again for coming. We'll sign some books now. Thank you.